Good evening and welcome to another edition of Kim's Corner. And today I have with me Miss Mecca Keyes. Miss Mecca Keyes is the president and co-founder of East Orange Citizens United for Change.
Yes.
And how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
And tell us a little bit about your program.
Our program is a community-based action group that we started last year. We started with the outcry of the murder of a young girl named Mecca Flood. She was 17 and she was murdered by her ex-boyfriend. She was shot in her bedroom.
Okay, yeah. I remember that incident.
And what we did, we saw that there was an outcry of a lot of people that wanted to do something but didn't know what to do and how to do it. And so with that said, we started a community initiative to promote domestic violence education and to also have a domestic violence task force for the city of East Orange.
So they have it for teenagers. Is it just for teenagers?
Well, no, it's not actually for teenagers per se. But with that said, Mecca Flood has been the earmark for it. It's actually for women of domestic that suffer from domestic violance in the city.
How did you become an advocate? Have you always been an advocate in your own little way? But
yes, in my own little way, I guess, kind of like in private, in private doors, I've been an advocate. But I've always been an advocate for the community. I'm born and raised in Newark, New Jersey, and I have a lot of family that lives in the city of East Orange, and it's dear to me. Okay. And living in this community, I believe that we should take care of this community. I'm a part of this community, just as anyone else is. And I feel as though we should take action and become civically engaged in things that surround us and affect our community.
Yeah, and they have a lot of. I've had a lot of advocates on my show. I always have people because you need somebody. Somebody has to do the work.
Absolutely.
Somebody has to do the footwork. And I used to be, I guess somebody said I shouldn't say I used to be, but I was an advocate for women of domestic violence, and I used to work in the safe house.
Okay, I'm familiar with the safe house. I'm so familiar with the safe house. What I found with doing the work with reaching out to other organizations, national organizations like Break the Cycle to get their support also, and reaching out also to other community activists and the local government is that I found myself, my mother, 30 years ago was also a victim of domestic violence.
Really? Did you know that?
No, I did not know. And I was, at the time, I think I was 7 or 8 years old.
How did you find that out? You just...
When I started the project, when we started doing the project and we started doing research and getting to find out what actually, comprises of a domestic violence curriculum and can we get this passed through the state of New Jersey under the core health standards, she came to me and she divulged this information, and it was kind of mind-blowing that she kept this a secret for 30 years and no one knew.
Really?
No one knew. And she didn't seek help. She didn't, she didn't put in a police report or restraining order.
Yeah, how long ago was that too? Because times have changed.
Well, times have changed, but at that time...
Because I believe at that time there was a lot of domestic violence going on.
There was a lot of domestic violence going on. It was back in the early 80s. I believe it was like in 1981.
I don't think people took it as
and they didn't take it that serious.
I think even in the 60s and in the 70s, because I had a friend whose father used to abuse the mother, and I just heard some real horror stories about it, but nobody did anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
At that time, nobody did anything.
Sometimes things like that fell on deaf ears, and I think that they didn't seek out help because there was no help at that time. There was no help at that time. But what the Mecca Flood Healthy Joint Alliance is an alliance that will bring local officials, the Board of Education, and community leaders like myself and residents to come together to bring about a solution, a legislative solution for change. And with that said is that the Board of Education would adopt, or launch, should I say, a teen dating violence curriculum from grade 6 to 12. Because normally we say within roughly 72% of 8th and 9th graders are dating. So it's very imperative.
Yeah, now they're doing more than dating. And the 4th and 5th graders are too now.
Absolutely. But what we want to do is we want to emphasize on prevention and education and promoting healthy relationships. Because some of this may have been seen at home. It may be a learned behavior.
Usually I think I think a lot of it has been seen at home. It's a learned behavior.
It's a learned behavior.
That's what the type of environment that they grew up in.
Absolutely. And so what we want to do is we want to curve that. We want to try to eradicate and combat for any other domestic violence incidents in regards to teen dating violence. Now, domestic violence and teen dating violence are totally different because of the severity of the age and the cohabitation. What happened in regards to Mecca Flood is that it was intimate partner violence because she was under the age of 18 and she did not cohabitate with this gentleman. So we need to, and the intimate partner violence deals with women or young women from the ages from 16 to 24. And that kind of falls on deaf ears. It's kind of like, oh, well, you're 17, you're 16, that's just a love tap. But we also need to show our young women that it's not okay for someone to hit you or put his hands on you. And we want to show and we want to promote the warning signals. If you're in a situation like that, this is what you do.
Yeah, but some women, I guess, well, maybe because of the environment that they grew up in, it was if he doesn't hit me, then he doesn't love me.
That has been the cases in many instances, especially in the urban community, if you will. I can only speak in regards to the community that I come from and I live in. But we need to show that, there needs to be a better way of promoting healthy relationships amongst all of us, and especially with our women.
Yeah, and I think, too, it's a lot has to do with the breakdown of the family unit also.
Definitely a breakdown in the family
and
structure.
A breakdown, and the community also. There's been a great breakdown in our community, too. The communities aren't as close-knit as they were. When I was coming up, you did something, you get a beating all the way down the street till you got home, and you just don't have that kind of community. You don't have the village anymore.
No, you don't have the village.
It takes a village. You don't have the village
but
anymore.
we can do things. There are things and there are solutions that we can come together and we can work to bring that type of village mentality back to our community, because we are the only ones that's going to save us. There's no one else that's going to save us. If we don't come out and do the work ourselves, who will? We can't rely always on a politician. We can't always rely on the federal government.
For a thing.
But we can at least rely on each other. And we're not looking for anything. This is something that it could have been my cousin. It could have been my mother, I said 30 years ago. It could have been anyone. And even though I didn't know Aquila Flood or her family, but I took stock in that because that was a young girl. And that could have been my daughter.
Is that the one where he climbed? They said he climbed. Did he climb through the window? Or
yes.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Climb through the window.
Yes. So with that said, we've launched initiative with the Board of Education to say, hey, this is a pattern that we're seeing, because 6 months after Aquila's death, there was another woman that was murdered on South Munn Avenue, and she was 9 months pregnant. She was murdered by her husband. And this was a week before Christmas. And then just this year, back in March, on Park Avenue, a woman was found unresponsive, but the paper classified it as a homicide. But she was, it was a domestic abuse incident, and she was murdered by her partner, her same-sex partner. So we're seeing a trend of violence against women.
Okay.
And it may start with a 17-year-old young girl, but it's showing a pattern that every 3 to 6 months, a woman is being murdered by a domestic incident. And we can't stand for that. We need to take action, and that's what East Orange Citizens United is for change. It's about taking action and becoming civically engaged. Now, we're not opposed to marching or demonstrating, but marching and demonstrating gives us awareness. It doesn't give us that change as opposed to Megan's Law. It gives us just enough initiative and awareness to spark attention. But what we want to do is we want to have legislative change. And with that legislative change, we want to take this ultimately to Trenton. And this should be something that's mandated throughout the state of New Jersey.
That was my next question. I'm getting ready to ask you, have you made a proposal for legislation?
Well, actually, what we've done so far is that we did get our proposal passed by the Board of Education, the East Orange Board of Education, for a $9,000 budget to implement a domestic violence curriculum, which started this school year, this September. And so we're excited about that. We are currently working on the task force with the East Orange City Council, and it's actually in legal department to change the verbiage of the actual proposal itself, community proposal. So we're excited about that. And once we do that, we want to actually have this be a part of Essex County. And then
that was my next question.
Yes.
You know, just because you have Newark and you have Orange and Irvington.
But not so much the urban areas, Kim, but we also need to bring this to Maplewood. We need to bring this to Verona. We need to bring this to Summit and Livingston.
Because those things go on too. People think they don't go on in those neighborhoods. Oh, absolutely. But domestic violence is everywhere.
Domestic violence crosses all social economic backgrounds and race and ethnicity. So we need to definitely let our kids know that, hey, there's a safe haven, there's something out there. And we need to start with education and prevention for number one.
So do you have a place like a safe house for teenage girls?
No, we don't have a safe house. Domestic violence, this domestic violence curriculum and this proposal is just a community initiative.
Okay.
We do, what we are is a grassroots community organization, and this is just our project that we're working on. The next thing that we're looking into working on is the increase of minimum wage to $15. And there's a march that's going on November the 15th, and we're going to be a part of that march to support the increase of minimum wage in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, yeah, because somebody told me the other day that we at Burger King or McDonald's, I don't know what state it is, but they got $15 an hour.
That's Washington State. That's Seattle.
That's what I told them
It's
too.
Seattle.
I thought, because I know Seattle's minimum wage is $15.
It's $15, and it should be nationwide. Actually, my personal opinion, the federal minimum wage should be at least $20 or $21. But, the states are governed to, act accordingly and to, govern, within their statehood. And they don't want to make it something of a federal
because people need a living wage.
There is a living wage. That is absolutely correct.
Yeah,
and so that's what we're going to support. We're going to support a living wage here in the state of New Jersey. But the domestic violence curriculum and the task force is just our community initiative. This is just a project that we're going to support, and we're going to, it's going to have longevity. And we're going to continue to fight, and we're going to ultimately bring that to Trenton. We had a discussion with the assemblywoman out of East Orange, Sheila Oliver, and she has given us much support in regards to this. And she was one of the ones back in January that told us, once you get this passed in East Orange, you need to come to Trenton.
Now, how can people get in touch with you?
They can get in touch with me by email, and our email is eocitizens4 change@gmail.com.
Okay.
And they can also get in contact with me via telephone.
Okay, you want to give the number out?
Sure. The number is 862-368-0445, and we are East Orange Citizens United for Change.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We'll be right back. We're going to hear a word from our sponsors. Stay tuned.
Hey, better watch Kim Corner. Don't you touch that dial.
America's public enemy number one.
It was a rush, and he was able to say it because he was a user. The cocaine, the marijuana, the drugs. Some people drank alcohol and gambled, but bank robbing was his thing. It was his rush. Yes, it was the money. Rush of being in a bank and being in control of all that money in as many seconds as you can count to 30. It was his rush.
So, is there anything you have to say for yourself, Earl Best?
Man, I ain't bugging out in this place, man.
It's a rush, man.
If I ever see either of you in my courtroom again for someone's jaywalking or a traffic ticket, you will do some time in the state of Massachusetts. Good day, gentlemen.
You're on your way.
Tasty, delicious, mouth-watering. Butter and Cream Bakery, the home of the original bean pie, 100% natural. No additives, no preservatives. Amazingly delicious. The best bean pie in town, 44A 4th Avenue, East Orange, New Jersey.
And welcome back, and I'm here with Ms. Mecca Keyes, and she's the president and co-founder of East Orange Citizens United for Change. So you were talking about the curriculum, and you're trying to pass some legislation for teenage domestic violence.
Yes, the curriculum.
Curriculum in the city of East Orange, and hopefully it'll become a nationwide program. Hopefully what you start here will become nationwide.
Well, actually, it's already being done in 2 states, and that's where we got this platform from.
Okay.
It's
What
being done.
states?
It's being done in the state of Florida, and it's being done in Massachusetts.
In Florida, really?
Yes.
With the Stand Your Ground?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. So once we did the research, we found that there is a domestic violence curriculum. Well, they call it a teen dating violence curriculum.
Okay.
That's already on the books that is being implemented in the school systems.
So what does the task force consist of? What are you going to do with the task force?
Well, with the task force, it will be comprised of local residents, public officials, law enforcement, community activists, and residents and parents. And with that task force, we're going to come together and we're going to have this subcommittee. And that way we can kind of comprise ideas and suggestions and make some kind of solution of what we can do and what things that we can change that are under our parameters. With that said, we can also try to reach out to some resources to see if we can have public announcements and other PSAs for children. But we just can't rely on one source as the local government or the mayor to do something.
No,
we
because
need to
you
also,
can't. Everybody, you
right,
have
it needs
to have
be
it
a
from all
collective.
different. Yes.
Absolutely, something that is collective.
And even involve some of the church organizations.
Oh,
and-
absolutely.
And some of the
The clergy.
masjids, the mosque, and the
Yes.
imams, and get everybody
We've
involved.
reached out to the majority of the clergy in East Orange and the masjids, and they've been very supportive. Actually, we haven't had any pushback in regards to this. How could you when we have a
Exactly.
17-year-old girl that's dead?
Because that happened. What a year was? It was a year.
It was
ago.
a year ago. It was on June the 5th, and Aquila was going to turn 18 in July.
Yeah, that was sad. So, are you going to have counselors? Do you have counselors? Do you mentor any young women that have been?
Well, what we did this past school year is we went out to the East Orange high schools and we spoke to kids about the warning signals of teen dating violence and what to do. And actually here in the state of New Jersey, you can press charges and you can file for a restraining order if you're under the age of 18.
So, what are some of the warning signals?
Well, the warning signals is definitely heavy texting. Heavy texting, extremely, someone texting you excessively. Another warning signal is just, subtle subtleties as far as what are you wearing, why are you wearing that. It's kind of more starts as manipulation.
And
It
the
doesn't-
possessiveness.
Right. It doesn't really actually start with, a hit or a slap or a punch. It's little small innuendos that's, more manipulative. And so it starts to get the young woman to think that, well, maybe I am, something is wrong, or maybe I am doing this wrong. And then it works its way into,
So
more
it starts
aggressive.
mentally then.
Absolutely. It starts mentally.
That mental abuse.
It starts as mental or sometimes verbal abuse. But sometimes, as we said before, some women think that that's the only way that he shows that he cares or that he's interested in me.
So this program is going to deal with girls from what ages again?
This is going to be from grades. This is actually going to be from grade 6 to 12th
So
grade.
6th grade was
Yeah,
like
so that's going to be
11,
from 12,
like
from ages
11.
12 to 18. And so what we did earlier in the last school year, what we did is we went out to the high schools. We went to one of the alternative high schools in East Orange, and we went out to East Orange Campus High where Aquila was a student there.
Oh, she was?
Yes, she was a student there. And we met with some of the kids that did know Aquila. And we talked about, the warning signals and how to prevent yourself and how to, if you see something or you feel that, something, you're in an inadequate situation in regards to dating a young gentleman, who to reach out to. And we partnered with the organization in East Orange called Purple Rain, who is the founder, Asia Smith. She's a domestic violence survivor herself.
Okay.
And so she came in and she spoke to the children about what to do and what not to do, and these are the warning signals.
Did any of her friends with Aquila, when they talked about it, did they notice anything that, maybe she was in an abusive relationship?
Well, from my understanding, that there was some type of reaching out, that Aquila did feel uncomfortable with this gentleman. She did feel uncomfortable about that, and she did make that known. But as far as any other information, I do not know. Okay. But she there was some reaching out, that she did feel uncomfortable with this person, and she was really intimidated by this man.
And how old was he?
He was 18.
Okay.
So now
So
we
he
have
was
2
an
young
adult.
lives. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have unfortunately, we have 2 lives that are lost.
Yeah, and the whole family gets, both families.
Both families are
both
devastated.
sides. So how can people get in touch with your organization again?
They can get in contact with our organization via Facebook, which we have a community page called East Orange Citizens United for Change, and we have a regular Facebook page called East Orange Unite. They can also contact us by our email address, which is citizens, change@gmail.com, or you can give us a call at 862-368-0445.
That's a mouthful, right?
That's a mouthful.
No, I'll put it in so my viewers would be able to see it.
Thank you.
And hopefully everybody will reach out to you. What other projects are you working on? Any other things, or just trying to get this passed right now?
We're actually just trying to get this passed right now, and once we get that done, we're going to have a joint press conference in front of the building where Aquila was murdered, and we're gonna
That was was that on Grove Street?
That was on William and Grove.
Street.
Yes, the corner of William and Grove. And we're gonna reach out to everyone. We want people to come out. We want residents and everyone to come, because this was a community.
So
thing.
when are you gonna have that?
We're gonna have that once we go through City Hall. We have the task force portion of it completed, because right now it's
so you're gonna wait until that project is
because
completed.
we already have the Board of Education have the adoption of the domestic violence curriculum in place. So we're gonna do that once that's done with the task force. And then we're going to push it throughout the county, and we're going to start working on some other projects. And I think our next project perhaps may be the livable wage here in the state of New Jersey, and increasing the minimum wage to $15.
Man, you need about $25 an hour to live comfortably in the state of New Jersey. You really do. You really do.
Yes, you do.
And it's interesting. You said your mom.
Yes, I was
a
shocked.
Victim of domestic violence. Now, was it your father?
No, it was not my father. It was her boyfriend at the time. It was her boyfriend at the time.
And she never
said anything. The only thing that I do remember from that is that I know that he was a heavy substance abuser.
Okay.
So that could have played a part.
And a lot of times that happens too. Alcohol. Drugs.
Yep.
Wow.
So that was something that it blew my mind. That she didn't mention it for years.
And you never knew. You didn't have a clue.
I never knew. Because I never seen any bruises, any marks, and maybe those are things that she might have hid from me.
Yeah, and then sometimes when they do it, they don't want to bruise like your face.
No.
They'll hit you in
Something
places
where it was
not visible.
Yeah, that's the quiet guy. That's the guy that's like, I'll give her a good punch here or there.
Yeah, the friend that I had, when I found out, actually, I think her cousin had told me about the abuse. They said their father used to beat her with a chain. And they said he used to beat her on the street and drag her with a chain, and nobody did anything. Nobody said anything, but that was probably in maybe like the 60s, late 60s.
And that was his
early
wife.
70s, and that was his wife.
And she was deemed as property. She was
and that was his
property.
wife, and they said he used to actually beat her with a chain.
Unbelievable. And now what makes it so relevant now is because this whole thing with Ray Rice and his wife, and that whole incident that happened in the elevator. This right here shows that we need prevention for our children. We need prevention, and we need education.
And there's a whole lot of other stuff going behind that Ray Rice thing too. I don't even want to get into that right now, because then that's going to be another topic, and I might offend some people. But it's a whole lot of other stuff behind that too. But you really don't know the whole story.
No, we don't.
You only know what you saw, even though he shouldn't have hit her.
Right, absolutely.
Like that. And she came toward her. But I'm sure there was a whole confrontation that went on before that. But they just show that little blurb, that clip right there. But you don't see everything that happened in that either. But he had no right to hit her like that. He knocked her out too.
Right. Within that 30-second footage that we do see, we know that this is not the first time this happened.
Oh no! And then
definitely know.
And then what gets me about it, she married him afterwards. So, they talk about all this on the news. I want to say, it was wrong, but she married him after the fact.
Yes, she did, but with victims of domestic violence, you begin to love and protect your abuser. I know how crazy as that may sound, but you begin to love and protect your abuser, and you defend him.
And it might not be an abusive relationship. They might have just had a fight.
Yeah, because she actually apparently seemed like she's not afraid of him because she went to strike him back.
Yeah, and I think it was something that she had spit on him or something and spit in his face. See, I've heard all this kind of stuff too.
We would never know.
But you don't know actually what happened, that she had spit in his face or something. But it could have just been a fight
that got out of hand.
And so then that's a lot of times. Then that's really not domestic violence. That was the fight that got out of hand. So I don't know. I can't. I wasn't there. I only know what I hear, what they put on the news. So,
right.
But that's a mess too. And then they had another football player just came out, something with a child,
Adrian Peterson,
mm-hmm.
and in regards to him beating his 4-year-old son, and him having marks and bruises, and I think he has some kind of lacerations on his scrotum. Yeah. So now that's and these things are heavily charged, and the NFL has a lot of. Anger management, shall we say?
Well, yeah, too. And you have those players too. They making all that money. They cocky and arrogant, and.
Well, there's something with the NFL in regards to the aggressiveness of being on the team and being on the field and kind of turning.
Yeah, because that's an aggressive sport.
It's a very aggressive sport.
That's an aggressive sport.
But we do know that we need to have some kind of advocacy for it, and we need to have some kind of prevention and education to promote healthier
relationships.
Healthy relationships and conflict resolution for number one, definitely. You cannot put your hands on people.
Yeah, exactly.
It has to be other solutions of how you deal with conflict.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I wish you much success.
Thank you so much for having us.
I am so glad to have you on my show.
Thank you so much.
Give us your email again.
My email is eocitizens4change@gmail.com.
And your phone number?
My phone number is 862-368-0445. And our Facebook page is East Orange Unite.
And I'm going to be in touch. We'll see how this progresses. And I'll have you back on my show again.
Thank you so much
for having us. So we can talk and see where you're at that moment. And wish you much success. Thank you so much.
Thank you again.
I want to thank everybody for watching Kim's Corner. I'll see you the next time.